going into this Baltimore San Francisco matchup, is going to be one of the most anticipated games of the year. This MVP conversation has started up again as we're getting to kind of the back half of the season. Brock Purdy for San Francisco, he's starting to get some buzz about the MVP conversation. I see you shaking your head. But he was a guy who seemed like he was out of the conversation when San Francisco was struggling a little bit as a team and when they had some injuries going on. Lamar was a guy who was in that conversation. And then the Ravens, laid an egg against Detroit. So then Lamar was out. Dak Prescott's a guy who wasn't in the conversation earlier, but then the Cowboys, they kind of get a marquee victory against the Eagles on national TV, and all of a sudden it's like that. The league just fluctuates to me so much. Right. But, when we watch the games and when we discuss kind of the standard that some of these quarterbacks are held to, what do you see when it comes to, we obviously have more black quarterbacks in high-profile positions than we've ever had in the league, which is a good thing. But sometimes the standard seems a little bit off from week to week. Not just when you're talking about, just the black quarterbacks, but even with a guy like Purdy, it just seems like it's up and down. What do you think about the way that we talk about quarterbacks, particularly black quarterbacks in the NFL, when it comes to giving them their flowers, being critical, and kind of the up and down of that? I just think it's so volatile right now.
Yeah, well, it's so funny you mentioned Purdy, and I didn't really mean to shake my head, but you called me out. But it's just, and again, you can only play with who you got. And Purdy is blessed with the fact that he's got, elite on every skill. Yeah. He got Deebo Samuel, one of the best offensive linemen in the history of the NFL, and Trent Williams. Then you got
McCaffrey.
He's awesome. But you're absolutely right. Let's not spend too much time on it. It's so interesting to me that when Deebo was out and Trent Williams was out, that's when they lost those 3 games, and people were talking about Mr. Irrelevant, Brock Purdy. Oh yeah, see, we were waiting. Then when those guys come back, all of a sudden they go on a winning streak, and our industry is just. Guys, don't you see the correlation when you got a guy like? And I think the difference and is that Lamar. You're right. Early on, they were talking about him as an MVP candidate. And I think it's kind of good, Eric. In a way, I think it's good that he kind of stepped out of that limelight, and just focused on playing ball. Because remember, he's been the MVP. He was the MVP too. It was so funny. Jaden Daniels, who plays a lot like Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels just won the Heisman Trophy at 22. Well, guess how old Lamar was when he won the MVP? He was 22 years old. The league. So he's already done that. He's already had the accolades. So I think that his focus now is almost okay, cool. You don't have to put me in there. Let me just woodshed and just continue to get better and just lead this team to where we need to be without getting all the, the highlight films, that kind of stuff. But you're right. I think the quarterback, how we judge quarterbacks, changes from week to week. One of the things that T. Martin said, he was drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they had Slash. They had
Cordell Stewart.
Yeah, Cordell Stewart. But he said, in terms of evolution, he came along at a time when it wasn't clear, even if you had a black quarterback, they weren't saying the reason your team won was because of the black quarterbacks. He said, even when I was at Tennessee, it was, we won. Well, yeah, they had a great running back. Yeah, they had some. He said, now we're in this era, grudgingly, people are saying the reason why Kansas City wins is because of Mahomes. The reason why Philadelphia is great is because of Jalen Hurts. The reason why Baltimore wins is because of Lamar Jackson. But he still says that there's still this burden of proof. Not everybody is sold on this. We all talk about, the quote-unquote athletic quarterback and all that. And I think that a lot of the old standard bearers in the NFL are gritting their teeth and bearing it. It's kind of like how the old racists in the South, they're, well, okay, they got voting. All right, blacks can vote now. We'll just kind of go with it. We don't love it, but we'll go with it. And I think it's the same thing with this group of black quarterbacks taking over the NFL. I think there still is a burden of proof. And the highest burden is, can a guy like Lamar, with his style on the field, off the field, can a guy like that hoist the Lombardi Trophy in February? That will be the litmus test. That will be the final thing. And I think T. Martin's job is to get him there, to take their promised land. I think it's a great and compelling story.
They're playing great ball. The standard is really high for those particular quarterbacks. Even though we're watching a lot of bad quarterback play in the league, the standard remains high for guys like Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott, playing for high-profile franchises, guys who people are waiting to win big playoff games, especially guys like Dak and Lamar, and Dak playing the most high-profile position for the most high-profile team. But I'm looking forward to seeing if they can pull it off. I think Lamar and Dak have got a good chance of being successful this year. We've seen Jalen Hurts get all the way to the Super Bowl with a talented cast around him. And I think that it's going to be an interesting week next week when Baltimore and San Francisco meet, to which could be possibly a Super Bowl preview. But thanks, everyone, for watching us. Erik Horne here, sports editor at Andscape. Bill Rhoden, columnist. Make sure to check out our writing on Andscape.com about Lamar Jackson and T. Martin and the all-black quarterback room in Baltimore. And we will see you next time.